Hi, I'm Michael Polozola with the LSU Ag Center, and today I wanted to visit with you about cold damage in strawberries. Now, strawberries are actually fairly cold tolerant, the plant itself. Now, the blooms are not, and we'll look at some cold damage blooms in a second. Now, the main issue you have is the combination of like a frozen soil, which these experience, or substrate, and then wind. So if freeze solid and it's kind of a still day, the plants will be fine in stasis as long as it doesn't stay that way for extreme long periods. But in my case here, the substrate in these containers froze solid, and it was dry and windy at the same time. So what happens is with it being windy, these essentially are desiccated and they could not pull up water because the water was frozen. So you can see the desiccation stress that happened in these plants. Now the good news is if we look close, the crown is still alive, it's coming back. These plants should recover, they're just going to be set back. And if you also look, you'll find that it's only particular plants on this side that suffered this issue. They had a little bit more wind than plants on this side, which were a little bit more protected. So there'll be some uneven distribution. These plants will be a bit behind, and in worst case scenario, I may use some runners from here to refill these spots. So while the plants themselves are fairly cold tolerant, the same can't be said for the flowers or the fruit. So we can see here where this flower was damaged by the cold. The most common way you can tell is look at the center there. If this flower was not cold damaged, it would be nice creamy yellow, and that would develop to a fruit. What we have here is that center got damaged, it's black. That is not going to develop into a fruit. So a lot of times you can even just remove it if you want. And then here we have a fruit that was developing and got hit really bad by the cold. This is just going to stay like this. It's not going to develop into anything. Now fruit further along than this, I've already removed most of them. If they're a bit larger, may be kind of brown and rubbery. They're still not going to develop into anything. You're going to want to remove those as well. Most likely in a situation like this, you're just going to have to wait for new flowers to develop to get fruit. So you just set back your fruit maybe by 3 weeks, 2 weeks to a month, depending on the variety. The only way you can prevent this is by covering with frost protection with a fabric or some type of thing. But in my situation where I have so many towers, that was just not a practical solution. So this is a better example of what a more mature fruit looks like due to cold damage. We can see it's kind of rubbery brown. This is not going to develop, and it had enough moisture in it that we can actually see some opportunistic pathogens breaking it down. So this is never going to do anything for you. A good idea to go ahead and remove it. Now this one on the other hand, I'm kind of watching. It was protected enough by being inside here that it did not get a similar cold exposure, but I am watching the top here, but that might be a germination issue, but I'll leave it for a little bit longer, see if it develops. So another thing I've noticed happens frequently in our region to cold exposure is we get more reddening of our leaves. You most often see this late in the season and with older leaves turn a reddish color, but I find that cold exposure can do a similar thing. Following it to see how it affects long term, but so far I don't see any negative effects other than just a coloration. It may eventually be that these are less productive and we need to focus on new ones growing out. So this strawberry here was in a tad bit more protected from the wind stress. Even though the pot on this one still did freeze solid, it had less desiccation stress because it had less wind blowing on it. And we see because of that there's less, almost no actually, reddening of the leaves of any of the plants in this particular location. And we also had a few flowers that even managed to make it through. This one would probably make a fruit, but looking in close, it may be a malformed fruit because it still did experience some cold damage. So it would be a little misshapen. So you can get some flowers that make it through, but probably be better just even to wait. And we can even look here to compare it. That one had more cold exposure. That one would probably not develop at all. But this is one that survived a little bit more. Now, they all did survive, but this one just had a little bit less stress and will probably recover and make fruit quicker than some of the ones that had a little bit more wind exposure.